Well, I'm never beating the allegations. Gary Black posting this. No offense, but SMR is a perennial bull. By the way, gotta like this post because it's true. How could you not be a perma bull on Tesla when you're looking out over the next decade? In fairness, I don't think this is a compliment from Gary Black, but it is true. At no point since I first began buying Tesla stock, funnily enough, a decade ago, have I looked forward 10 years from that point and thought, oh God, terrible company, garbage, overvalued, better sell the stock. In fact, it's been the opposite. That entire time, for an entire decade, looking out a decade, I have remained extremely bullish on the future, the long-term future of the company. So let's get some context. What exactly was this in response to? Somebody posts, I think you need to watch this, and somebody linked to a video. That was one showing Tesla absolutely dominating EV sales globally in September, the most recently available global data. That was in response to Gary Black, who wrote, Tesla bulls say it doesn't matter that Tesla October global volumes are down 30 to 35% year over year, since the business is transitioning to unsupervised autonomy and humanoid robots. Now that's a fool's narrative. With 70+% of Tesla profits from EVs, we can already start to see the difference in time horizon coming into the picture, right? We're talking about October, year over year, and current Tesla profits. And of course, if you have a really short-term horizon, this is the stuff you'd be focused on and you'd probably be dumping the stock. Let's continue with the post. With EVs, Tesla had first mover advantage and clearly had the best product on the market at a price that was also highly profitable. Nobody else except BYD, allegedly, has made money on EVs. Tesla bulls, I guess that would include me, refuse to acknowledge that autonomous ride-sharing is a commodity business where Tesla is behind the Chinese manufacturers who are already completing 450,000 paid fully autonomous rides per week and will license their technology to anyone who will pay for it. I have said for years that unsupervised autonomy is table stakes for anyone in the automotive business, and that prediction looks more prescient every day. Fully autonomous ride-hailing is already a crowded space and will only get more crowded as others solve for unsupervised autonomy. Few sell-side analysts' Tesla models show significant future revenue or profits for autonomous ride-hailing, generally less than 5% of 2030 revenues, and almost none show revenues or profits for humanoid robots. It's hilarious that Tesla bulls cheerlead without even attempting to justify Tesla's valuation. Boy, do I have some thoughts. Now, regarding Gary's points that few sell-side analyst Tesla models show significant future revenue or profits for autonomous ride-hailing, and almost none have anything at all for Optimus. While true, it's also true that few sell-side analysts identified Tesla's dominant position in electric vehicles a decade ago. Remember the whole competition's coming, Tesla's overvalued, and they were saying that when it was like a $20-30 billion company. Citing the consensus opinions on Tesla's future is not necessarily evidence that the consensus is correct. In fact, it seems to be a contraindicator, at least historically. Now that said, some of the analysts have actually got a few things right. After the scamdemic, Tesla putting the brakes on Giga Mexico. Many of these seemingly skeptical and bearish analyst estimate for Tesla 2030 deliveries production that were first put into the public sphere around 2020, pre-pandemic, are actually likely to be much closer to the mark than many of us deluded Tesla fanboys and bulls. I'll own it. Some of my estimates for Tesla production toward the end of the decade or so, 10 years out, were absolutely ridiculously optimistic. Of course, it's kind of difficult to find anyone else's estimates for 10 years out on Tesla production beginning, say, 2020, 21, around there, because nobody seemed to be modeling out that far. But I do want to remind everybody, most of the analysts covering Tesla stock back then, and most today still, look at Tesla as just a car company. It's possible that they're ignoring revenue from autonomy and humanoid robots because it's outside of their wheelhouse, or they just don't see it happening. Gary's post continues. Bottom line, it's difficult to justify Tesla's forward PE of 200 times or higher in what is clearly a commodity business, unsupervised autonomy, where Tesla is one of many fighting for market share. Now, I will actually agree with Gary in theory, if everybody presses the magic catch-up to Tesla button and has general autonomy, not just narrow autonomy burdened by a ton of sensors, LiDAR, radar, gaydar, sonar, and can put vehicles on roads for a comparable cost to Tesla, good luck, and put them on at a comparable rate to Tesla, good luck. And everybody has comparable software, it's comparably generalized, it's deployed rapidly and widely just about everywhere, can be offered to customers for the same cost, and it's a race to the bottom, then sure, I just haven't yet seen any evidence suggesting that. There's plenty of companies out there offering robotaxi rides in small markets, encumbered by a clusterfuck of sensors, the necessity of pre-mapping in HD, with narrow, brittle software that's working fairly well, adequately, safer than humans in very small geographies. But none of these companies have developed software that is generally capable of driving, period. Where Gary and I quite clearly disagree is how this plays out over the coming years. I believe Tesla's going to scale rapidly and widely, have the lowest cost to put hardware on roads, and be able to put more hardware on roads faster than any other company on the planet, and end up taking the lion's share of this opportunity. P.S. Never mind Tesla's existing fleet of 8+ million autonomous capable vehicles on the roads today with an over-the-air software update. You know where this is going, right? Tesla's going to have a massive cost advantage, be the most profitable company offering these services, and not just take the lion's share of the profits, which, by the way, just for the record, are not in China, nor India, nor Africa, nor developing nations in general, but in the United States, Europe, and other wealthier nations. And in that case, the analysts who today don't have a whole lot of revenue or profits for Tesla or autonomy in their valuation models may be experiencing deja vu, once again missing the obvious opportunity, then chasing. And in related matters, Andrej Karpathy, who previously worked at Tesla for, I believe, about half a decade on Autopilot/Tesla Vision, has posted this, Elon Musk reposting him. Karpathy reviews Tesla self-driving. So let's see what this legit gigabrain Andrej Karpathy had to say. He says, I took delivery of a beautiful, new, shiny hardware for Tesla Model X today, so I immediately took it out for an FSD test drive, a bit like I used to do almost daily for 5 years. Basically, I'm amazed. It drives really, really well, smooth, confident, noticeably better than what I'm used to on Hardware 3, my previous car, and eons ahead of the version I remember driving up Highway 280 on my first day at Tesla around 9 years ago, where I had to intervene every time the road mildly curved or sloped. Note, this is version 13. My car hasn't been offered the latest V14 yet. Now this is important, just jumping in here. The feedback on V14 from most people is a holy shit moment. Huge improvement. He continues, on the highway, I felt like a passenger in some super high-tech maglev train pod. The car is locked in the center of the lane while I'm looking out from Model X's high vantage point and its panoramic front window, listening to the incredible sound system or chatting with Grok. On city streets, the car casually handled a number of tricky scenarios that I remember losing sleep over just a few years ago. It negotiated incoming cars in tight lanes. It gracefully gave way to the car that went out of order in the four-way stop sign. It found a way to squeeze into a bumper-to-bumper traffic to make its turn. It overtook the bus that was loading passengers but still stopped for the stop sign that was blocked by the bus. And at the end of the route, it circled around a parking lot, found a spot and parked. Basically, a flawless drive. By the way, jumping in again. This behavior sounds very human-like, very intelligent. Back to the post. For context, I'm used to going out for a brief test drive around the neighborhood to return with 20 clips of things that could be improved. It's new for me to do just that, and exactly like I used to, but come back with nothing. Perfect drive, no notes. And jumping in again, I remind you, this is V13, not the latest release, V14. I expect there's still more work for the team in the long march of nines, but it's just so cool to see that we're beyond fighting issues on any individual round 1 hour drive around the neighborhood. You actually have to go to the fleet and mine them. Back then, I processed the incredible promise of vehicle autonomy at scale in the fully scalable, vision-only end-to-end Tesla way, only intellectually. But now it is possible to feel it intuitively too if you just go out for a drive. Wait, of course surround video stream at 60 Hz, e.g. 60 frames a second, processed by a fully dedicated driving brain neural net will work. And it will be so much better and safer than a human driver. Did anyone else think otherwise? Bro, obviously trolling. I mean, all the so-called experts thought otherwise. He adds, I also watched Ashok Elaswami's new talk last week that hints at some of the recent under-the-hood technical components, blah, blah, blah. Yep, we've seen that, featured it recently. Goes full down the nerd rabbit hole here. If you guys want to pause, feel free. Finishing the post, huge congrats to the team. You're building magic objects of the future. You rock. And I love my car. Now, for the record, Andre recently did a podcast where he doubled down on his prediction that Tesla has taken the correct approach and, in essence, they will dominate here. Of course, we will just have to wait and see. Personally, I am putting my money where my mouth is and look very much forward to watching this play out. The one thing I would say to Gary and many others who believe that Tesla's going to be competing with dozens and dozens of other companies in a race to the bottom with autonomy, which may be true, and that somehow these companies will be able to put hardware on roads for a comparable cost and also somehow be able to deploy hardware at a comparable rate to Tesla, despite the fact that most of them don't make their own vehicles. The one thing I would say is, can you show me evidence of some of these companies that you believe are going to be competing with Tesla globally, especially in the markets with the most available profits, e.g. some of those wealthier nations? Can you show me evidence today of any of these other companies operating software in such a diverse number of countries, regions, markets? Sawyer Merritt posting this. We've now seen Tesla FSD Supercars successfully tested by the company in Italy, Netherlands, South Korea, Japan, Spain, UK, Germany, France, Australia, New Zealand, Canada, US, China, Mexico, Puerto Rico. And when he says we've now seen, he means we've now seen. Tesla's not just telling us that they're testing in these markets. We've seen the videos. I'd just like to understand, is your theory or hypothesis that the companies that are currently operating in one or two regions at a very small scale will also, just like Tesla, be able to deploy widely, rapidly, globally? Because they too have developed a general solution to autonomy. One example might be, let's say, Waymo. You would have thought that Waymo, supposed leader here, would be operating in half a dozen countries by now with a huge head start. In short, either I'm missing something or those sell-side analysts are missing something. Want more content? Early access? Bunch of perks? Click the links in the pinned comment. AG1 has been part of my daily health protocol for almost half a decade. It's packed full of vitamins and minerals and helps me fill in nutritional gaps while supporting energy, digestion, and immune function. It also has prebiotics and probiotics to promote gut health. I take my health very seriously, and so should you. Try AG1 today by visiting drinkag1.com/SMR or click the link in the pinned comment and enjoy a free welcome kit with vitamin D3 plus K2 and AG1 travel packs. That's drinkag1.com/SMR.